Today on Real Horse Rescues, a conversation with Catskill Animal Sanctuary founder Cathy Stevens.
There are animals, chickens and pigs and horses, who make us stop and pay attention through their combination of gesture, presence, insistence that you know them. Like, he's hilarious.
Hi, sweetheart.
Yes, I'm hilarious. I got a big personality. Yes, I do.
Cathy is a visionary, author, speaker, and compassionate advocate.
The biggest piece of advice I can give to young advocates and activists, to older, to anybody trying to make the world better for animals, is don't judge somebody who doesn't stand where you stand today.
After teaching for 11 years in a traditional classroom, Cathy combined her love of animals and a penchant for education. In 2001, armed with truth, an iron will, and huge heart, she opened Catskill Animal Sanctuary and has since saved over 3,500 animals from unspeakable suffering.
Our first animal was a tiny little Shetland pony named Dino, who was the only survivor of an arson in Brooklyn that killed 23 horses.
I first met Cathy in 2011 at the Sanctuary's 10th annual Shindig, an event to celebrate and advocate.
You know, to me, life is very simple. We're here to give and receive love, and these animals heal so quickly. And the ones who heal, I believe, heal subsequent ones. I think people say that this is a disarmingly happy place, and so who wouldn't want to participate in that? It's, you know, it's exhausting work. It's tired. It's sort of endless. It's been a long time since I've had a day off, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
In between back-to-back barn tours, Cathy autographed books. In Where the Blind Horse Sings and Animal Camp, she delves into the complex intelligence, emotional lives, and healing powers of animals.
God, if we just let her loose, which I think we should.
As I toured the grounds, I watched visitors come face to face with animals who otherwise would have been ignored or eaten. The impact of touching and feeling the magical menagerie of residents really evokes new thoughts on our relationship with other species. Catskill Animal Sanctuary is a 110-acre haven where all the animals sing, and visitors are warmly welcomed.
Hi, what's your name? Flynn. Hi, Flynn. Good to meet you. Thanks for being here on this beautiful day.
It is a place to learn how to live with passion and truth.
You know, I've been around animals my whole life, but when you're young, you come at it from a different perspective. And Buddy taught me to pay attention.
And how to say goodbye with dignity and grace.
I just dropped his lead rope so he could decide where he wanted to take his last step, and he stopped right in front of his friend Ted's stall, Ted the draft horse. And I said, Max, are you ready? And he turned. We were all in a horseshoe sort of around him from his rump to the front of his head. And he turned around and he made eye contact with every single one of us, like, so clearly saying thank you, so clearly saying goodbye.
I'm Susan Kane. Stay with us for a new perspective on animals and share some aha moments with the extraordinary Cathy Stevens. Cathy, we have arrived here on a pretty active day. You just had 2 horses ship out for adoption, another one on the way. Got 2 new friends together.
Well, I'm so proud of our adoption coordinator. She's just done a bang-up job getting 3 horses adopted. That's the first time in our history that we've had 3 back-to-back. 2 came from hoarders. No, in fact, all 3 came from 2 different hoarding situations. They've all been here for years, and Erin just does a beautiful job matching horse personalities and people personalities, and we're deeply sad to see them leave. There's some special, very special animals, but of course it opens up a home for somebody else, so that's always a good thing.
I saw some very teary eyes as the trailer was pulling out earlier. How did Erin coordinate those adoptions? Do you have a list of people waiting for horses, or do you seek out people?
Boy, would that be a dream come true. No, not at all. Most of our horses have been here for years. Most animal sanctuaries, horse sanctuaries, will tell you it's very tough to find good, permanent adoptive homes. And so, no, there's an online application. The couple who lives in New Jersey filed it. Erin did a site visit. She might have gone out a couple times. They came and met the horses, of course. Erin matched their needs with these 2 horses, Katie did and Monty. She'll do a post-follow-up visit. There's a contract in the event that something happens and circumstances change, the animals come back to us. And one of the challenges has been that we have had to take back a number of equines and other animals, big animals, cows, so it's always a challenge when that happens. But, you're here to serve the animal for the rest of its life, so it's incumbent upon us to do that. So it's a good day here.
Oh, that's great. And with the adoption, that left Colette by herself, and she has a new friend, Coco?
Yes. Coco came in 3 or 4 weeks ago, came in right around Mother's Day, from a local situation where the woman just had too many animals, far more than she could care for. So Coco is extremely high-strung. She was picking on one of the girls in this herd of 4 mares who is extremely stunted from malnourishment. She's a 2-year-old who is the size of a weanling. And we thought we'd try these 2 high-energy girls together, and it's only been a few minutes. What do you think, Colette?
Hey, sweetie pie. They look like they're having a good time.
Yeah, so far so good. But I miss my Katie did. I miss my friend. So you know horses, obviously. It'll take a little time, but we think this is going to be a good pairing.
Well, they seem like they're starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, they are. On the right hooves, yeah.
So most people, when they think of Catskill Animal Sanctuary, think of a farmed animal sanctuary, but you have quite a few horses and quite a history with horses.
Oh, our first animal was a tiny little Shetland pony named Dino, who was the only survivor of an arson in Brooklyn that killed 23 horses. And he came with scar tissue in his lungs and a sort of half-melted eyelid. He was here forever, and he was just such a trooper. Our second and third animals were 2 big old draft horses named Tim and Jim. We've always rescued horses, and at any given time have between 20 and 30. They mostly, as I'm sure any rescue will tell you, they mostly come from hoarding situations.
Untrimmed, disfigured. She was a bag of bones, and look at her now. She is exquisite. She will never be sound for riding. Her feet are so bad she has arthritis. But she's sweet as a kitten. I mean, she's a thoroughbred, so she's high strung. But they basically he just threw her away. Because she wanted to raise her 2, had a few babies, and then it was time to throw her away. Oh, Abigail. You're gorgeous, isn't she? Oh my gosh. Look at this. And that's a real thoroughbred face. Hello, baby girl. Hello, baby girl. Yeah, look at that face. But that's the thing, is that they overbreed these horses, use them for a little bit, and then throw them away. And what's never ceases to amaze me is that here's a creature who has every right in the world to want to kill everything on 2 legs that comes near her, and she's sweet and lovely, and
Yeah, horses are in my blood. I grew up on a breeding and training a thoroughbred farm, and started with horses, A, because of that connection, and B, because I just adore them.
You did quite a bit of riding.
I did.
Do you have time to ride anymore?
No. The only reason I would ride now is the reason I rode our blind horse, our first blind horse named Buddy. Buddy, I'm almost going to say made me ride him. He came terrified because his family, who really loved him, didn't know how to adjust. He was an Appaloosa, and you know, so many Appaloosas lose their sight as they age. And Buddy had lost his vision, and his family just didn't know how to adapt. And so he was running into the fence. He arrived all with all kinds of scratches and just a mess because they couldn't figure out that you gotta show him where the food is. And so I will never forget this animal. He was so frightened, right? And it took so long to get him from the trailer to the barn, right? By putting food in front of him and just leading him forward one little tiny step at a time. And he was shaking. And then when we got to the barn, there was a little step up, and I smacked the barn and helped him up. Within a few days, he was going, I want to go out. I want to go out. I want to go out. Like, he was telling me so clearly, I want a life. And so after 8 or 9 days, I put a saddle on him as an experiment. He didn't flinch. And within 2 weeks of him being there, I was riding this blind animal, teaching him words. No bit, just halter, two lead ropes on his halter. And I tell the story in my book, the first book, Where the Blind Horse Sings, which is in part the story of his evolution. Of the first day, we went out into this big open field, and he wanted to run. So I thought, And he trotted. I didn't, and he broke into a canter when he was ready to, and then he was galloping, and we galloped in this big, it was a neighbor's big 30 or 40 acre open field until he tired, and he slowed himself down, and one of the best moments of my life, he just went, and it was, I will never forget it. And so that's where the title of Where the Blind Horse Sings come from. I just felt like he was singing and saying, I'm free. And sorry, I've gone on too long.
No, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. For anybody out there that has not read it yet, please pick it up and read it. I've shed many tears through it. And I was actually looking at the story of Buddy this morning, and I loved how you ended it. What a beautiful way to honor the spirit of that horse. Most people would be afraid to do anything, as you said, because they wouldn't know how to deal with a blind horse.
Right, and so the mantra here is like whether it's a horse or a chicken, every animal is an individual, and our job is to do everything we can so that every individual thrives. Not just food, water, shelter, love, confidence, the ability to express his innate or her innate nature. I didn't expect to ride Buddy. Buddy just made it really, really obvious, like, you will ride me because I want a full life. Riding him gave him back what blind horses lose, which is the ability to run. Can't see.
Now, with all of the horses you've rescued, I read you've rescued over 3,500 animals in total since 2001. But of the horses, is there one that's the most special to you personally? And if so, why?
Well, Buddy was a teacher, right? Buddy taught me. You know, I've been around animals my whole life, but when you're young, you come at it from a different perspective. And Buddy taught me to pay attention to every single individual. And that that and his spirit, were so very special. But there've been several, right? There was a horse named Max who, when Max eventually, at a very old age, had to be euthanized. He was comical, he was smart, he would, kind of let himself into the barn kitchen sometimes. I would walk him through the kitchen. He was a horse that you could have led into your living room, right? Totally unflappable. When it was time to euthanize him, the vet had to put nerve block in his legs just so he could take a few steps out of the stall. And I will never forget that 8 or 10 of us surrounded him. And I said to him, I just dropped his lead rope so he could decide where he wanted to take his last step, and he stopped right in front of his friend Ted's stall, Ted the draft horse. And I said, Max, are you ready? And he turned. We were all in a horseshoe sort of around him from his rump to the front of his head. And he turned around and he made eye contact with every single one of us. So clearly saying thank you, so clearly saying goodbye. It's you can always name something special about everyone, but those are a couple of the ones who just will be in here forever.
Coming up, we'll talk advocacy. You might be surprised at what works.
100,000 people looked at that post, and many of the comments were things like,
We'll visit with Brutus.
We are in love with this animal.
And meet Bobby. Back in a moment. Real Horse Rescues is underwritten by the Unbridled Thoroughbred Foundation, an organization guided by the belief that every equine life deserves humane treatment, compassion, respect, and protection from harm.
Been a long, long, lonely train. They never told me when I said sail. I thought I'd been away from home, been through the darkest night of my home. Now I'm starting to see the light of my home. Learn a lot about myself, didn't I know?
There are animals, chickens and pigs and horses, who make us stop and pay attention through their combination of gesture, presence, insistence that you know them.
What advice do you have to young activists?
The biggest piece of advice I can give to young advocates and activists, to older, to anybody trying to make the world better for animals, is don't judge somebody who doesn't stand where you stand today. Last Saturday, there was a Triple Crown winner, and all the media conversation was about the Triple Crown winner and none about the fact that a few races prior, an animal broke his leg and was euthanized. And I looked it up and learned that 43 horses have been put down in New York State alone due to racing-related injuries. And so I simply wrote a Facebook post and was saying, I wish we were paying more attention to the injuries and less to the Triple Crown victory. And man, 100,000 people looked at that post, and many of the comments were things like, anybody who supports racing is a gambling addict and an idiot. Those were the words that were used over and over, and they were getting the likes and the this and the that. Marginalizing people, calling people names because they haven't arrived where you are today does what? It puts them on the defensive. It doesn't allow them to hear what you have to say, to hear what's in your heart. It's the same thing I say to people who are vegans, who suddenly hate anybody who's not a vegan. Well, you weren't vegan yesterday, and now you hate all the non-vegans? Like, come on. It's a journey, and the more you can encourage people by hearing them and by sharing your experience with love, the faster they're going to get to where you are today. Number one piece of advice. Bobby's humans brought him here because they were elderly and weren't able to care for him anymore. Well, he'd had love, but they hello.
Oh, he's precious. Oh my goodness.
Old man.
Thank you. Mwah. What a sweetie. Oh, so how long has he been here?
He's been here 2 years. Look at them still carrying on out there.
Oh, yeah.
Used to be out with the blinds, and we would take him out. You know, the farrier worked on him, and at one point we had a supportive, hard plastic thing constructed. And so we'd lead him out there, and Susan, he'd walk like this. And you know, more hoof work, and it didn't improve. And we started thinking, you know what, this guy doesn't have much time left. He's in agony, because he was also on anti-inflammatories and painkillers and blah, blah. One day, we let him out to the barn, out the end of the barn, and he just wouldn't budge. And we thought, okay, that's it. It's time to let him go. He's telling us he's in too much pain. So Kathy Keefe, farm manager, said, let's just let him enjoy what time he has left. As a free ranger, right? Took the lead rope off. He was trying to tell us that he didn't want to go out there, and that was 2 years ago.
Oh, I love it. So he had no trouble adapting once he was set loose on the range.
Once he was allowed to be an underfooter.
Oh. So one thing that's a little bit different here, Kathy, is the ability for visitors to really be hands-on with the animals.
Yeah.
I've visited a number of rescues and sanctuaries, and for liability or different reasons, there's not a lot of interaction with the visitors. And I mean, to me, part of falling in love with animals is touching, feeling, hugging, kissing.
That's right.
You know, where else do you hear kiss the pig?
Right. That's right. and actually get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it. It is, I suppose, a little risk, but our job is to make sure every animal thrives, and sometimes they will not thrive if they're in a flock or a herd. And so the underfoot family, like as we call them, for obvious reasons, the cast of characters for the underfoot family changes depending on need. Stencil was being picked on by the herd of goats. So Stencil's been an underfooter for a long time. We had no plans on making Bobby an underfooter until Bobby demanded it, right? So yeah, and then the second thing is that what's the point in going to a sanctuary and just hearing people talk about animals if you can't go hello?
Yeah.
You gotta be able to do that.
That's what I
And we don't, we're not stupid. Like we don't take people in with the high-strung horses or the cows with horns this long. I do that, but nobody else does.
But you know your animals.
You know every single animal,
animals,
every single chicken, every single duck, every single horse. Yeah. Let me just Stencil. Hey, buddy. Brutus.
Oh, here's where Brutus lives. Oh, what a lovely, lovely herd.
Sweet Pea, you want to come say hello? We shouldn't go in there, right? Because
nice.
Julius is very high-strung. Dewey in the corner is high-strung. These all came from a hoarder. Brutus.
Oh.
Come here, fat man.
Which one is Brutus? Right, the dark one in the corner?
Yeah. I can probably get him to come over. Come here, Sweet Pea. Hi, Julius. Hey, bud. Hi, sweet bud. Hi, goofball. Hi, goofball. Says, come meet some new friends. Come meet some new friends.
Oh, Brutus is beautiful. What a
He is a
handsome
goof.
fellow.
You could flip up it. He's a goof.
And he's on his way to a new home.
He's on his way to a new
my
home.
Goodness,
to
get
be
the
a friend
tissues
to-
out.
To be serious, serious tears that day.
What
We
a
are in
lover.
love with this animal.
How long has he been with you, Kathy? Whoops. Whoop. Not ready to go yet, Brutus.
Today's not the day.
Not yet.
Today's not the day.
Oh, what a handsome fellow.
Susan, look, he's just goofy. He yanked my flip-flop off one day and went tearing through the field with it. His adopted family has been visiting him every week for months while they got the place ready. And you know, all these animals get a lot of attention, but not as much attention as if they are 2 animals as opposed to 200 and some animals with a family, right? And he really needs, he'd be the one who'd live in the living room and sleep in a bedroom. And don't eat my shoe, please.
So how did his adoptive family become familiar with the sanctuary?
You'd have to ask Erin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hello, says, I am a goofy man, and I'm gonna have a good new life. Yes, I am.
I love this is why I wrote in one of the books. It's a good thing I didn't have kids. They'd all be criminals.
Oh, that's good.
Because when an animal has personality, I really like drawing it out. And some horse people would be appalled by
Oh, no.
Some horse people would be just appalled.
That's how they
I do
communicate.
not have enough men.
And they express themselves. The rest of the crew is getting curious.
Hi, Dewey. Hi, Rowdy. You're not coming out, sorry.
He's like, I want to come out.
I want to be an underfooter.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say free ranger. I like underfooter.
All right, Pumpkin Pie, we got to go.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Brutus, and good luck at your new home. What a lucky boy. Yes, you are. Good life ahead. Here, I'll get this store before we have
Bye, boys.
before we have
Bye,
a stampede. Bye.
Bye, Barkley. Bye, Julius. Bye, Dewmeister. Bye, Dewey. Bye, Dewey.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Real Horse Rescues. Thank you for spending this time with me at the Catskill Animal Sanctuary in Saugerties, New York. If you have a chance to visit this summer, I promise you'll never be the same. Get out here and come and love and touch and feel and hug on all of the animals. I'm Susan Kane, and I'll see you next week.
We're open every single weekend. The first tour starts at 10:30. The last tour starts at 2:30. It's a 90-minute, very personal tour. We do them every half hour. So the groups are small. They're very kid-friendly. We go at your own pace. There's no script. We try to make sure that people have deeply meaningful interactions with some of each species. So we invite everybody to come and meet some horses, etc.